Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Unfolding the Soul. Uh, Today, my guest is Csenger. He's going to talk about how dancing has been a prominent thing in his life. Uh, Csenger has been hanging out with us on the Discord for a long time, doing meditation and other practices. And at a certain point, I got together with him trying to use the ideas that we've been cultivating on the Discord to improve his dancing lessons, right? So he's giving dancing lessons. So yeah, that's a little bit of the background. So Csenger, like, what does dance mean to you?
Um, what does it mean? As I was walking home, and I think it means some kind of lightness. I think it means a kind of taking off the. So for me, if I think like the most clean form of dance is like when you are either when you do folk dance or when you are doing when you're naked and you just dance around. I don't know, like there is this taking off all the kind of things that makes you anxious for really submerging into some kind of music. So it has to do a lot with music. So dance means for me this kind of light way of going through, of moving through, even without a direction sometimes, and but just kind of trusting, and through this the uh yeah through it's like the way is more important than the destination. I think that's an important thing about when we think about dance. And also that maybe if I translate it, then the I'm doing something with my body, and I'm doing something with my character of who I am, but it's not, the point is not who I am. I'm this and this and this and this. I tell you the results that I have achieved. It's more like the who I am is being presented through the dance. So I don't know. Sorry, maybe that. So dancing means this kind of, for me, it's a process.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, then we start at the beginning. Okay, so there's this process of self-expression, right? Or like it, because I get the sense that it's not only you showing who you are to other people, but it's also showing who you are to yourself.
Yes, it's a kind of, it's an exploration and also an experience of something. Sorry, an expression and also an experience of something. Um, so and it's definitely social. So there is an aspect in which even when I'm dancing alone, people come to mind, or situations come to mind, or this music has an evocation of something. So there is always this, yeah, I'm exploring and experiencing and expressing something, and through myself, and I'm exploring also uh, something in relation. Like I'm also receiving the expression of someone else, or yeah, and that then it becomes quite fun.
So when was the first time that you participated in that way? Is that a distinct memory?
Yeah, so so my I mean, I was dancing to, when I was one of these kids that if my parents played music, I was kind of moving to it. But I think that happens to a lot of kids. And also when there was, my father had a company party or something, and I remember that there was some kind of music playing, some kind of rock, and there was my shadow, and I didn't look at people because I think I was quite an anxious and I was a quiet kid, but I was looking at my shadow and I was dancing to it until I was running with sweat, and that kind of took me to a place where which I haven't discovered before, and that place was for me a incredible another space. Like it was almost like an altered state or some, I don't know, I wouldn't go that far. As a kid, it doesn't matter. It's just that I was in something that was really nurturing my soul, myself, and yeah, not yet with others. So that was the first time.
So you put it in the context of being anxious. So was it an escape, or was it something that was really glorifying something?
Oh yeah, so good question. Actually, there was a in that moment there was a like a huge emergence of emotions, of kind of this kind of celebration of life. Okay, that's maybe another thing what dance means to me, and for like kind of celebrating the being in the moment. So that was a huge part of this experience. And the thing that maybe I said like that was strange is that the other things, they kind of melted apart. I guess that's related to the flow state, that like that's because of that I started to go into. And then I don't know I don't know where other people are anymore, but it somehow doesn't matter. So then there is this later on it becomes more of an issue, that if it's an escape or an escapism. That's actually a big question for me.
Mm-hmm. So you discover this magical way of being, and then like what does that do? Like, is that thing that you are going to search out?
Yeah, so definitely something that I'm drawn to after, that is like this, okay, it's a call. That for me it's a huge word. It's more like whenever that thing turns on, I want to chase it. I want to follow it. So yeah, I definitely started then searching this, and also my parents saw me and started me on this kind of journey of like he could do dancing, and yeah, this was very satisfying. And this is how I found calmness, because I cried very easily as a kid, but through this kind of doing whatever this was, I could regulate my emotions, and I could find a lot of comfort, and sometimes through discomfort something else, which was always very exciting.
So what age are we talking about?
So I was 10 when I started then, when I went to my first local dance school. My mom started me on it, but she just like, go do it, and then I kept going regularly. So she just dropped me there, and then I stick to it. And interestingly, other things melted out. Like I did Aikido also for 6 years, but this kind of got filtered out through I couldn't stick to it that long. It was more important than dancing, because I don't know why. Because so dancing also is a possibility. Let's say it gives it offers you a kind of perspective after a while of possibilities to explore. So there are these dance styles that you can do. As a kid, I did like show dance, and then I did more like hip hop or this kind of breakdance. B-boying I started also, and then later when I realized that, then it became more serious and that I could do this, but then I am confronted with the reality of what does it mean to be a dancer, not just the dance, but what is it to be a dancer or become a dancer. So then I kind of opted for contemporary dance, because I thought, this is something people do in theaters, so then it's it's respectable. And if I'm from a middle class family, so I couldn't fit into the breakdance community, let's say, or I could not see for myself a way through life in breaking or in locking or in other styles. So that's why I chose contemporary. But yes.
So you're an active kid, right? Like you're doing Aikido and probably some other stuff as well.
Floorball. I did many sports. Actually, no. Yeah, I tried. I did floorball for 6 years or many years. I was a goalie, which I loved. I was in a sports context. I wasn't competitive, for example. I could not beat, or I was not. I have some inhibitions that I could not go into a competitive state without becoming emotional. So it's very difficult. So I was always the goalie, and I loved it because then it's kind of, I thought being a goalie is like a one-time chance. It's a bit similar to like that the goalie is the special person who there is only one of them, and then they have to be very dexterous, but only once or twice, but that changes the whole game. I don't know, it was for me like that's why I created this thing in my head that this is more important than being, let's say, the front person. So yeah, but like also when I was in a competitive, like when there was football, for example, that there is opponents, I felt like I kind of danced around the things. Like I enjoyed more the movement of it than the losing of it. And I even when I played and we were winning, I felt this stupid kind of sympathy or empathy for the other team. So I played worse, so that we are more equal. I don't know. I didn't fit into that environment.
So
sorry.
Yeah. So is there? How do I have to see it? Is it like a slow growth of the value of dancing in relation to these other aspects, or is it just you discover this new way of doing things and then it just supersedes everything, and then it just takes time for you to realize that they have to fade out?
I think it took time. I don't know if I think it's both of what you said. Like the second one for sure. Like I realized it, but to realize it took a lot of time. It was like unconsciously there, I guess. But I was the other thing that I'm kind of with is this kind of to be eclectic, or to be I'm also quite open, so like to be very open to many things and not to close down. Like as a kid, I thought to grow well, it's good if I do also things which I didn't think of it like this. I thought I also enjoy this, why should I let it go? I also enjoy this, why should I stop? I'm not so good at it. It doesn't give me the gratification, let's say, but I also play the guitar, and I just picked it up a few weeks ago. I could not learn it well, but yeah, I'm more of this generalist also as an approach. But to answer to your question, I think it was it took a very long time to crystallize. I could not decide I want to do this.
Mm-hmm. So how do you get to a decision if it takes a long time?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I struggle with it still. I think through kind of calm, when I can be calm and alone and just listen, then kind of the decision comes by itself. And I just listen to it, and then the decision has been made. Or I am going, I'm going physically with the things. So this decision already has happened, and I'm just realizing it.
Mm-hmm. So the calmness is like seeing what you're actually doing, and then it's like, oh yeah, like that's just how it is now. Is that?
Yes, but then you can also correct on that.
Mm-hmm.
I can correct, I'm doing this, but this is not maybe I could do this better, or a better idea could come. So I like this. As a kid, I loved improvising because it's like improv, and I thought improv, it's like to improve, that they are connected. Sorry.
There's a progressivism element there, right? It's like new is better.
Yeah, it's not. No, yeah, exactly. It's not necessarily better, but you kind of, I kind of adjust always to the thing that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you co-identify with the spirit of the moment. So in some sense, like if you're actually capable of doing that well, then it's also like you get to learn the spirit through the co-identification, right? Like that's your way of intelligizing what's happening. Right? Like there's a co-creation there that allows you to see where you're at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yes, there is.
Can you share what's going through your mind?
Yeah, so for me right now, this is getting I'm getting I was getting a little bit, it was getting a little bit abstract in my head, so I just blanked out. But
Mm-hmm.
but I was thinking of self-consciousness. So I guess a lot of times what happens is that, and this is why it can get dangerous with me, like also with me, and also people that get too much into this thing, and you get obsessed with one thing, then because this self-consciousness goes away, and then it's like, oh, I'm back to the Eden garden, but it's not really. It's just one garden that you have to cultivate and then go back. So yeah.
So if I re-articulate that in a different way, it's like the flow state puts an enchantment upon you, and you might confuse that enchantment for something ultimate, and then you get stuck in that enchantment.
Yes, that's the thing that happened to me when I was around 16. I kind of had to make this decision that what I want to do, and I chose dancing, and I was very serious about it. I told my parents, and I went away for the summer, and I was just practicing, and then I really got addicted to this, and I really got stuck, exactly how you said, got enchanted so much that I thought it's kind of it's a cure for everything, and I don't understand why. Oh, I made all the spiritual mistakes a spiritual person can make. I think like I was bypassing, I thought it will solve everything what I'm doing. It just things will come into my lap. I don't have to even talk. I don't know. I became very this became my superpower. So I don't know, self-righteous. I don't know what's the right word, but it is pride. Yeah, I guess there was a lot of pride there.
Self-absorbed, maybe.
Self-absorbed, definitely. It comes together with being a teenager, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, so then this didn't work, so I burned out, and then I had to
Well,
seek.
can you describe like how you go through a day in that state? Like what would you do?
What was I do? I was still doing. I played not professionally, but I competitively I played floorball. I was kind of top, like best grade student. I was doing training every day by myself on the attic of our house. So I was doing every day 1 hour, 2 hours, and I had a paper and I did ticks, and I had like really a lot, almost every day I went running almost every day, stretching every day, dancing, studying. I was a literature major kind of. So then that was a big shift, because before I think that changed a lot, because then I also read about Freud, and that really messed me up. I shouldn't have. I think if I skipped that part, wouldn't have been bad. Yeah, so this is how I was studying, training, competing, performing, sleeping. Not so because I'm a kid. Weekends maybe if we go with my parents, but I was very close, and I didn't even open. Sometimes I would lock myself, and this was very strange, because before I was always with my family, with my parents. This was very strange for them, very heavy.
Mm-hmm. So it was strange for them, but it wasn't strange for you.
Yes, no. After a while, I became very empty, very, very. And then I started crying for I don't know what reason. I thought, wow, it's part of my journey. I can just play music and I cry and I keep dancing. So it kind of, the thing that helped me in the beginning then destroyed me. So then I later, with my few teachers that I learned from, that I realized that so if you enter this flow state, he calls it, you become your own healer, you become your own shaman,
Mm-hmm.
so to say. That means you can either heal or destroy your body, both. You can do either or yourself or your mind, whatever you're working with. It's and that was a key realization. It kind of sticks, and in this moment I was clearly destroying.
So what's the difference? Like how do you know whether you're destroying or healing?
Yeah, this is it's a great. I think the antennas, you have to keep them open. When I feel like I'm closing in and my relationships don't reflect, when I'm not, when I have to run away after a practice, let's say, if I just talk about the practice for a sec, like if at the end I feel like I'm still restless, too restless, not in a way that I cannot reflect anymore, that I have to do something, I pick up my phone, that means the training didn't go how I wanted. That means I have to go. I usually in that moment I cannot even write down, then I have to talk with someone. And it is now it's not so critical, it doesn't happen so much, but for example my relationships really reflect where I am. So if I feel like if I don't feel like talking, and that's okay, that I don't feel like, you know, that there is not this, but yeah, but if
is that an apathy?
Apathy. What sorry, can you clarify the word apathy?
Well, it's related to pathos, right? Like, which is passion, and so A is the negative, right? So it's a lack of passion, right? So when you're in an apathic state, what you're effectively doing is you're not receiving signals, right? Like the importance of, for example, the social relationship isn't there for you, right? So there's something where you tune out, right? Like you're no longer participating on that wavelength.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. That happens, and then I realized, oh, I don't know, like that, but that's the thing. What I mean, like through dancing, you can also tune. So doing it right, actually, that's what it's supposed to do. When we really dance together, like the folk dance comes to mind, which I haven't done, or you just go to a party and then do everything, stuff like this. You're vibrating, so to say, with with everyone, and the babies. That's like the half sister of my girlfriend is here, and she challenges everything I do through just being, and this is what I love about, because she resonates with everything that we are doing, because she's so new to it, and of course she is in chaos and she needs people to guide her, but she's so attuned, and whenever we start, she can read. If we start playing from love, she goes. If it's force, she doesn't. And I think that's what we can learn. It's something similar that we learn also as adults when we go into when we dance with each other, or that we kind of learn through this kind of non-verbal way, to just listen to your body, to what that says, to tune into, yeah, to tune into your systems, but also your sensitivity and your senses.
So this apathy, right? Like this destructive aspect, is that you get drawn in too much, or is it something else?
Yeah, let's talk about that more. It's more interesting.
So there's a sense, right, where you said you had to wait till you're done with the practice, right? And then you can reflect by the way that you're acting afterwards. So
I think what you said about passion, and in opposition there is the no passion, that's a good comparison, because yeah, like this, this passion only lasts for a certain degree, and then, for example, if I'm talking again about the dance world, like people become technical, and as a kid I was really not against, but I didn't respect technicality. But later on, it's like it becomes very important, because then you can do and enjoy the same thing, but you don't have to use the same sources that you normally do, because dancing from passion, and that's what I did, I kind of told mantras to myself. You have this pool, and I consider myself very lucky, and I think I was grateful for it, that I had a lot of this kind of from this source, so that I can ignite the passion and I can pour it into something. But still, that thing becomes empty. So, and as when I started to become a professional, and by that time I really was burning out, I realized I had to start very differently. I did something from minimum energy possible, energetical, like the most efficient way you can be in a dance class, and only learn it technically. So and that allowed me to explore with my colleagues a different aspect. I was not so interested in, I was still very interested in dancing per se, but I became more interested in, I was observing more the people, my colleagues. I was observing the teacher. I became aware of this conceptual world that existed outside of me, or the space that I was in. Opa. I pulled out the glass. The space that I was in, that I'm very unaware of.
Shall I pause or?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay.
It's okay.
So
yeah.
you were talking about the acting out of force and acting out of love. Do you think that would apply to those two modes, where the one was out of force and the other one is out of love?
I think one was, I would even go further. One was out of use or abuse, and the other one was out of
care.
But yes, but yeah, you could say the same words. The one was out of force, and the other was out of love. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you have those patterns reoccur in the different domains. So part of it was also that you now recognize this outside world, right? Like the teacher, the atmosphere, the techniques, right? Like which are not you in some profound sense, right? You're relating to them, and you've refocused into that relationship, right? Like the depth of that relationship allowed you to find more, right? Like a different way of participating. Does that sound correct?
Yes.
So is that something that's recent, or is that like a process that you've been in for a long time already?
Not quite long time. I think already 8 years. So I started 2012, 13 when I went to dance school. So yeah, from then on, and it's like from then on I was just building bricks, and then I realized maybe you don't actually have to build anything. It's also fine. And then I realized, oh, it's actually other people that I'm blessed to coexist with, yeah. And also at some point it was a big realization that it's like a work like any other, and that really took out weight from my shoulders. It allowed me to step back, and that's when I became more interested also in in mindfulness, in other activities again. So I came out of this really narrow hole and kind of, yeah, started swimming. Or
So
again,
that might connect to the question I was intending to ask, right? Because we have this concept of acceptation where you have a skill and you use that in different areas of your life, right? So this realization of this different way of participating, like, was it a thing that you were allowed or not allowed, capable of using in different areas of your life, or do you think like going through that narrowing and then opening up, that the opening up was the point where you saw that acceptation potential?
It became yeah, there was a key moment when I started to see, and this came not only from dance, but when I started to practice this thing called the zero form, and I started to do other things, but it's okay. Like, it really is the main is dancing or movement, let's say. There was a key moment a few years ago when I saw the benefits of this in being injected in every other part of my life, and that this I can I can share, I can give it out, I don't know, I went back home and I started talking with my father, but like I could not after before, like when I was like, we became friends with my father, and this I could never imagine, because I don't know, because he's
Your father.
He's my father, yes. He's my father, and he's from a traditional background, and he was supposed to be this person, but through this thing, he also goes to somewhere else. He's my father, but when he enters, or when we go together in this something else that is now more playful and less threatening and less scary, and I don't know, he goes with it. Yeah. For example. So to answer your question, yeah, there is an exact, even when I go out and I want to order a drink or a dinner and I talk to the waitress, I wouldn't know how to, sometimes I cannot read properly the social situation, I'm too analytic, but I become a little bit of I start to dance it a bit, and then we are fine. I don't know, it's strange, you know, like there is this thing is there somehow.
So yeah, so that point is, you were talking about the spiritual, right? Like there's a spiritual aspect that you're kind of picking up again, but I assume also in a different way, right? Because now you're seeing a different value in the spiritual element. So yeah, like what made you go there, and like what were you looking for?
So again, I was in a kind of deep, not crisis, but yes, I was in the meaning crisis with everyone, and I was in a personal crisis because I I didn't have work after I finished my education, and I was doing projects, and that was somehow not enough and not up to the standards that I was expected, blah blah blah. What really made me go there is that this is it all there is? At some point I was Protestant. So I was protesting. Didn't want this, still not, at least in my upbringing. It was not enough. The thought is there. I was not enough to, that it's like you're just working and then you go home, then you eat food and then you sleep, you wake up, or you just have to find for work, and then you just have this apathy. This I was putting it more outside so that I can deal with it, that it's maybe the problem is the reality that I've created for myself. So I go to this thing, and I go to the studio, or I walk, or I do a sit and then I dance, to enrich that thing, so that when I come back to my life, I can become new or fresh again, and I can see the world, I can see the kind of invisible things, and then those things make me satisfied for the day, even though I didn't have work for 2 months. That really satisfied me, let's say, for example.
So was that what you were looking for, or like was that something you like immediately found, or is that something that you've developed over time?
I developed it over time. Yeah.
Right. So what were you looking for? Just trying to get out of where you were at?
That was the initial thing. Yes, get out of the house, get out of the country, get out of. That was the initial thing, but there is always like the people that I met, they are my teachers. Manuel is my teacher on how to abstract, how to see things, to see categories, or see something in a very elegant and abstract thing and form, and that allows me to think in a different way. I meet, I don't know, this little girl that is here, she's my teacher in another way. So at some point this became very important, who I'm with, who I'm meeting, that it's about this, I think, friendship, so or kind of reciprocity, or learning from someone. And what I was looking for is to break out, even when I went alone, to break out of this frame.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the Shiva aspect of like destroying the frame in an ugly way first. But this at least I contain into my own session, and opening that, sometimes that also happens. I'm lucky. And then searching for what's there, and it relates to this not hunger, because it's not this, to, what's the right word?
Drive?
Yes, there is a drive and appetite.
Mm-hmm.
An appetite and a taste, but there is a drive. It's a drive for experiencing something new or something different, or experiencing the exact same that I've done many times today in a different way, because today is a different day.
Mm-hmm. So you're starting a spiritual process. So how does that interact with the dancing?
Well, I think that's allowed me to actually it's like the space was like this and then it became like this. That's how I would say. So I had only access for seeing that much, which is only the really zooming into this dancing. And then when I do these other practices, it allows me to see what, first of all, what a normal, so-called normal person sees. That was already for me a huge, you cannot believe that, was like a breakthrough, huge breakthrough. And then maybe seeing something that is more than that. And though happens, there are moments, you know, like the end of the day, I go out to the balcony, I see this, you know, and then something comes, or and then often it's really often it's really the practice.
So when you're talking about the small part, right? Like it's the language that uses, it's like a closed world, right? Like you know everything, you have control over everything, and then you have this normal person thing, and right, like you said, it's like
The normal. Go
go
on.
ahead.
The normal person thing is already like accepting some of the unknown and uncertainty, because a normal person knows that you know, people die, and you know that I don't know, like cars break down and you have to call someone you don't know. I don't know, like, but then there is you can train the capacity for even more uncertainty. I think you can become more resilient to it, and then therefore maybe you can become I think you can become a better person, more reliable person.
So yeah, like I like how you drew in the uncertainty, because that's definitely where I was going as well.
Great. Sorry, I'm
No, it's
overexcited.
great. It's great.
Okay.
So there's two aspects of the uncertainty, right? So one is, well, yeah, there's uncertainty in the world, and you have to have a relationship to it, right? But there's also a different level of uncertainty, because like if you have the closed world, like you have full access in some sense, right? But if you're in this big world, like you can only pay attention to a small part of the big world, because it's too big to pay attention to. So there's an extra bit of uncertainty, like where are you pointing to pay attention, right? So and then there's also like, yes, right, like you don't know what's there, and it's unfolding into you, right? We were talking about the spirit, right? And in some sense that you see yourself through the participation, right? So going through the process is actually making you aware of where you're at within this uncertainty. But do you feel those two elements, and how did you deal with them?
So in the big picture, let's say, because people tell me, so that, yeah, I like to use this term because people tell me I don't see the big picture sometimes. So now I'm practicing it. So in the big picture, this, I think it comes back again to the tuning. So like if there is all these possibilities of what I could do today, let's say, if we stay in that frame, or long term, in like the plan of what else I could do next to my work. I don't know, like these are just little examples. Then this kind of tuning comes back, that what is it that calls for me now, and it's related to my landscape of emotion, because that you cannot discard, or kind of how am I, what's my capacity now, how awake or how much quote unquote energy I have for that, how, or what's the quality of the thing? Do I feel more like building something today in the wall, doing something really, I don't know, it's just like examples from from the couple of days, like I'm cleaning I'm making something in the bathroom, and do I feel like doing that really now? Maybe that's better than thinking about the creation that we are in right now, because maybe that's the thing that, so like there is this landscape, but then I'm not letting that go. I am with that responsibility that I want to do. I think that's important. And then the other is the uncertainty and seeing yourself within it. This also is, for me, is like in a scale. So when the uncertainty goes too much up, and I cannot, my systems cannot tolerate it, let's say, or if I'm so attuned that my soul cannot tolerate it, then that means I'm putting too much, or that it's not that God is or the spirit is asking too much of me, but I am, yeah. So because of that, or I'm putting too little, also can happen. And this is the thing that really requires reflection. So the doing, and then how the two goes together. Wow, this is a question of the whole life question. Like, honestly, I think, yeah, friendship, like forgiveness, often something that I want to.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. So you're bringing in like an external attunement as well. That maybe is the solution to that. Yeah, yeah, no, I like that, right? Because like like I was saying, right? You have the big circle, and you're only looking at the spot, and it's like sometimes you need someone to point, like, yeah, look there. Yeah, so yeah, like yeah, that's a beautiful way to describe the value of other people, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, you're doing this dance, right? And then you can get sucked into this reciprocally narrowed, consuming fire aspect, right? Where you're effectively being destructive, and then there's many ways in which that can manifest, obviously. And then because you can't see, right? Like you need someone else to tap you on the shoulder and say, yeah, chill out, or get off your ass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've done most things. So you've been starting to teach as well, right? The dancing. So that must have opened up also a new way to be present with dancing. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yes. So I started teaching first amateurs and professionals a little bit later, but they kind of both happened almost at the same time during COVID, because then there was not so many freelance projects, obviously, for obvious reasons. And so I've started because of that, but also because it was something that I was very interested in from a long time. And so I would like to talk about teaching amateurs first, because I find this fascinating, more fascinating somehow. I've been with this group of adults, so between around 20 to 65 for a year and a half, and it just ended this week. This Tuesday was my last class because I'm going to transition to a company. I'm going to work for 2 years there. But this process of working with a few of them for a year and a half was very interesting, because first of all, it was my first real job that I enjoyed. That I see people. I have a leader, of a boss, or some. I'm an employee. I'm doing work with people that I've just meet for that purpose, and I'm doing what I've learned, but I have to adapt it. So, for example, in a professional context, the biggest constraint in dance is that you don't speak. I think because many people are really used to we are talking right now, because that's the most kind of effective, at least, yeah, it is a very effective way of transferring knowledge and thoughts. So when and through a dance class, the teacher talks all the way through, but not in a professional class, and it's much less, because people already understand kind of the common, we have the common background. So, and when I've started with the amateurs, with adults, it started like this, that I also didn't speak German. So they started asking questions that I couldn't answer first, and they made me. I was just going through the movement, and I changed it, and they said, no, but that was in a different way, or can you do? I don't know. It was first also through online, and that was very challenging, because I couldn't change the front. So I have faced, for my for first year, I've faced many challenges, and that was very good, because I don't know, like, these people were very kind, and they just wanted to do this dancing, these classes purely for the sake of it. So there is not this very, when you do your profession, then you are more critical about it, and I don't know, all these things are there.
So yeah, so there's an aspect where you have to relate to other people, and you have to communicate these things. So I was kind of wanting to target like how thinking in that way, right? Because like I assume that you have to have developed a new way of thinking, right? It's like, okay, like I know how to do this, right? Like I know how people told it to me. Like maybe you don't remember, right? But now you have to tell it to someone else, right? And now you have to look at yourself as if someone else is watching you, right? Or like,
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah, that's true. It's a feeling that I started with, like, people are looking at me now, whereas also before it was the same. But yeah, it was definitely there. It was definitely something. I don't know. And it's a hard question, but it's a good one. So this calculus came into my head, this kind of a new meter. How much am I overloading, and how much do I have to hold back, take back? I felt then it's more like the amplitudes of the room. Of usually I never felt on me. I felt safe, like I did, and also I think they felt safe. I didn't. I think the space was safe. So, but there was that you can feel in the room that it's becoming too much, or you can really feel when when the class is becoming too confusing or too brainy. And I had to see myself that actually I'm becoming, because I'm kind of leading this, that I started to become very brainy right now, and that has influenced the class. So people are sitting and struggling through something which they could have managed. So I had to find, again, it's like this landscape, I have to find it in a different way to guide them through another path, so that they can actually start exploring the movement rather than only thinking about it.
So is that something you feel like you solved for yourself, or is that something that you're still in the process of?
I think it's, well, in improvisation, depends what we're talking. If we're talking a regular class, I've definitely developed some tools also. So from the looking at me, as you said, like I'm being looked at teaching, that for that I kind of had to fill in the image, the form. So I have developed tools to also kind of positively put pressure. So sometimes I take the space and I kind of gently push people to explore a little bit. Or I developed, so I'm developing this, or I'm listening, or I'm taking someone out and place like we worked on, like you take someone out and you kind of let face, or through a dialogue, small dialogue, or to let them face the thing, to face the movement quality that we are working, let's say. So they have to show it. So that therefore it's a little bit of a safe exposure, and from that everyone else can also resonate with that. So that's, for example, a tool I use, and also, or I started to use. And also it's my, yeah.
Sorry.
It's fine. Yeah, so she's my partner, dance partner. And yeah, so
So you see yourself as like your self-expression as a tool, like you've been using that language kind of, right, where it's like
very much so. And also when I expand, like you expand a little bit through, I expanded through the space, then my expression also becomes the other person's expression, and their expression can become my expression. And that's how you can kind of start to appropriate, not in a bad way, something. Like, for example, and this I love, this is when we are starting to jazz, because this I loved in the last improvisation that we did. I started to talk about something, we talked about action reaction, and then we actually started to perform it as well. Like I started to, as I was talking, I was starting to kind of demonstrate it, and people picked it up, and everyone picked it up. The whole improvisation was set without me having to say, without me saying, now we're going to start. And then I just had to, I just press play on the music and let it go. Like this was, for example, like I'm not needed anymore. That's perfect. I've done most of what I can. And then, yeah, there is also other sides where you have, when I was more when I want to educate about something, and then it's about it's about pointing out some principles that will help the person to solve the problem themselves. So my ultimate goal is also for amateurs is to give as little cues as I can, and as little information, like not too much information.
So that brings up a question in me, because like it's a thing that I've been struggling with, because when you hand a person principles, right, like, and I think that's correct, there's a problem of implementation, right? So there's a reliance on the capacity of that person to find the right answer. Although I assume that, yeah, you're operating in a space where right is a lot more fuzzy than than in a mental space. But
yeah, well, it's very complex, and therefore not many people look at it that way. But there is a right, like there is definitely a like anatomical structure of, if we are talking in this way, but then it's also unique to every person's body. So but there are some principles that are there, like for example standing on the feet will engage a lot of the brain, because the brain is a big chunk of the nervous system is responsible for keeping us upright. And if I start like that, then already the nervous system is engaged. So these things are, there is a principle that leads somewhere. And what came to my mind as you were saying about that sometimes it can be a struggle is especially like when I was like, this is 1.5 years. Okay, I don't see it. Sometimes so in dance you can see it also, can see it on the person if they're doing it how with the principle or not. But also you can see it through time, that maybe the change is not what I thought the change would be, but there is a change to some direction. And then then it's like then you are, it's just, I guess you have to be patient. And also a person will take what will work for them in the end, and then they develop their own principle. So, or they will use the principle that suits the image of a tree.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard balance to strike there, right? Like, how much do you push and how much do you let people fill in for themselves? So do you feel like we've entered into the present, or like are there pieces that we skipped over?
I just wanted to point out maybe one more virtue, which is courage. That is personally a big one to cultivate for me, because even if I'm on, let's say, on stage and people see me and I seem very exposed, people learn to put on masks and lie very early. But the courage to be, the courage to be like the book, and to be honest, or the courage to undertake something is also necessary for not making. So I think the kindness, yes, and the courage, maybe not harshness, but courage to also, or either to say something in the moment, in the right moment, and not to hold back when it's necessary, or to do something. Yeah, I don't know this, and and you can still do something from fear, but you can do it also from courage. Or
So how does that relate to dancing? Like, did dancing give you a way to explore that or access that?
yeah, I mean, I would say from dancing, I've moved on a little bit to other kind of activities related to dancing, which is acrobatics, and this is, or yeah, now I've started parkour recently, but let's say acrobatics is fear is always a factor, and this overcoming or meditating on fear is a constant life process running parallel with other things in acrobatics. And at some point there is no more scale, there's no more scaling. It just takes courage to do the thing, and that's it. So this is what it allowed me to face that you have done all the preparations, you cannot find any excuse not to do something. What do you need?
Yeah, and I've actually been thinking about that as well in a different way, and it's like at a certain point you're like this is gonna happen, right? And like I can spend weeks or months not doing it, or I can just do it, right? There's an acceptance element there.
Yeah, that's very good. Even acceptance, yes. It's like I remember Rafe Kelly comes to mind because he talks that there is this yin aspect before you do a jump, and it's so true. I have observed always before I do something risky or scary. Now I have started to practice this, that I tell to myself, you do it whenever you're ready. And then something happens, and then the moment arrives, and then there is a thing of I saw it happen, kind of. I saw it, I felt it happen, good, and that's when I do it. It's strange. It happens before I do it, and that's when it happens well. And it's exactly how Rafe, that's why I said, because it's exactly how he described it, and I think it relates. And there is this really big part of acceptance in it.
Yeah, you mentioned the word tuning earlier, right? And it's like you're listening for the right attunement, and then when you have the right attunement, you can go there. So yeah, why? And I think it's even in meditation, at least for me, where that also is true, right? Where it's like sometimes there's an experience that comes at you, and you shy away from it, right? And sometimes it's like comes at you, and you can let it go over you, right? There, yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. You accept the consequence as well, right?
Yeah, somehow. It's like, and that relates for me to being is good, right? Like, so if you just believe that what is, right, like these patterns that you're participating in, they have a good expression, and you're participating in that faith, right? Like that the outcome is going to be good. That's how you can get it, right? Like that's how you can get the good outcome. It's like necessary but not sufficient. So yeah, like do you want to say something around for Fakey, like and being on the Discord? Is that something that particularly assisted your journey?
Oh yes, it's very good that you've mentioned it. I think yes, definitely awakening from the meaning crisis lectures have given a big way of these words that everyone says, the being named, the problems are being named, or even the ground has taken so that we can talk about things. It's kind of that's what I've so all these beautiful dialogues that came out of that, it's because of that. And I've started also to be to give credit, like my consistent meditation practice I started because of his meditation series on YouTube. And yeah, yes, yeah,
Go ahead.
it complements what I'm doing. It also interferes, creates interference, a fun kind of interference, but sometimes, yeah, it takes me out of the comfort zone.
Mm. So is because that seems like a pattern that's also running in the background where there's this constant challenging of the comfort zone.
Yeah, no, that's just even before. That's not related. That's just like how I was born, I think. I had to be this annoying one that I don't know. I don't know. I threw a pillow. If everyone is calm, I threw a pillow. If everyone is calm around the TV and watching the movie, and it's the best moment, I threw a pillow just to wake people out of that. I don't know, or not to spoil things, but yeah, this it's part of this challenge. I don't know how to, and that's in order not to annoy people. That's why I do acrobatics, so that I I take it out. I utilize it into something.
Okay, so now we can maybe start pointing towards the future. So yeah, like where do you see yourself going? Like what are your aspirations?
Right
Just
now,
take an ideal version, right? Like
in 3 to 5 years, I would like to definitely develop my work together with my partner. We have started a company that we have made work, let's say, but we haven't started a company yet, really, like in a legal way, or yeah. And I would like to start that in the next few years. I see myself having children, committing to having children, just having children. Yeah, that would definitely change things. And being active and just continue to develop what I'm doing, my dance practice, my teaching practice, maybe starting to from this play mode to, I'm not so interested in making a technique, but in the end you kind of have to, I think. Maybe to, if I'm blessed, then that will go to that direction. If I get lucky. I see.
So you were talking about this company. So that's a dancing lesson company?
That's no, I would like to make a dance company.
Right. So what are you going to do? Are you going to train people to do performances, or
this is to sorry, it's a contemporary dance company. It means we make pieces and we are creating artistically together. There are the two of us or in collaboration with other artists. This is more like a creative work, and this is something that we have been doing. It's really eating, but it's super it's eating on the human but it's really also making, I don't know, making things alive, and that's why I love to do it. So that would be the component. The teaching is to develop. I'm developing together with my partner. We call it physical alertness. It's our class. We also play with objects. We play with these balls, and we have, from influences and what we have gathered, we are making some kind of a class which is very physical, and would like to share and to share this dance and to wherever we go.
So that's like a low barrier of entry class where you just can do that with people in the festival grounds, or
Yeah, you mean no levels, so to say.
right?
Yeah, that would be the goal for me, definitely. That I yeah, would be the goal.
So you're looking to, like, is there an idealistic aspect behind it, right? Because like the way I'm thinking about it is like that's where the people need to be grasped in order to open them up, right? Like where there's an entry participation where they can have this feeling of the transcendent element of that participation, right? Like you had in front of your shadow, dancing with your shadow, right? Like are you trying to provide that moment for other people, or is that me just reading too much into it?
Yes, I mean, wow, that to create that space, yes, that would be incredible, I think. But I also don't want to share the difficulties that, let's say, I've very stubbornly put myself through. So that's why I do it together with someone, so that we maybe cancel each other's ticks, and maybe a person doesn't get too much attached to one of us, so we can, yes. And this entry, that's very interesting, because you have nowhere to hide if you do it like that. If also there is nothing to hide, if you don't say, I cannot because I'm not a professional, or I cannot because I am a professional. You can't, if it's something without any so-called uh,
Labels?
yeah, labels or levels, or yes, then then the, yeah, as you said, exactly how you said, like there is just participate in it and have to, yeah. And also it doesn't matter, like that's the, I think that's the beautiful thing about it, the grace of it, that
Mm-hmm. So you were talking about attachment, right? So because that's one of the difficult things, right? You can open people up, but then like you have to catch them, right? Because like now they're open, but now they
yeah.
have to do something with it, right? And I think you were talking about that tension, right? When you just let them go, right? They're gonna go through the trials, right? Like they need a mentor, effectively, right? And was that the challenge that you were talking about when people getting too attached to, like is that a process that you want to engage in where that
Yes.
attachment happens?
So the process is that you take on yourself your own challenge, or your own challenges and obstacles, and the good part of the process also, the good part of life, the good part of the journey. I personally was too attached to one teacher, and has halted me back. So yes, I think you have to inspire them, and everyone has a way of doing it. The good teachers that I've met had some kind of tool to let people I think the favorite one that let people very close but still be very distant from them. I don't know how you do that, but that's something that that person has, and maybe I don't know, maybe I'm able to develop something similar. But really it comes through like all these things is the most important is the joy of doing it, and the training itself. Like I sent a message to one of these mentors about principles and about I will try to do like this my class. I will try to guide them, and I try to put them into the unknown. And he says most important is that you train. I don't know, it's very simplistic, but also me, that I train, so that I go and I dance with them. So then I also experience and I can feel it much more. And then I also, oh boy, I also have these many challenges. So I'm not that concerned anymore. I don't know, that somehow eases up this burden.
Yeah, and I think maybe he's also trying to point out a different aspect, right? Where if you're too much in your head, then the being in your head, you start constructing this world of how things should work and how things should be, and then instead of participating with what is, you're going to try and manifest this imagination, and then you're going to use force again instead of love to bring that back in. Right? So I think that's the warning, right? Like we have to keep ourselves grounded in the participation, right? Like in reality, because if the things that we're thinking of, like we can't make them do things in the world, then they're inhibition, right? Like they're distractions there, and so everything has to find a way to serve your goal, and you do that by doing, right, and not by planning.
Yes, and you learn by doing also.
Yeah, yes, right. You and this goes back to the potential again, right? Like when you're doing, that's when you get to engage with the potential. You can't get to that potential in your head. So yeah, like you mentioned kids. I want to go there a little bit. So do you think you're gonna like how's the dance aspect gonna influence you raising your kids? Because I think that's gonna be like really present, I guess, in some sense, right? The embodied aspect.
Yeah. So first I share my fear. My fear is that because I've chosen dance instead of being a doctor, I think I will be a more stupid parent. Just because I don't have to solve everything through my brain. Depends, of course. Yeah. Like it was a provocative statement, and I don't think it's even true, but whatever. But it's possible that my kid, because I will be probably very playful with them, I will be physical with them. This is what I think that is good to, yeah, that it's okay to play, and to also play with your dad, because I don't know, that can help. And then within that, because this will make things complex, and it was already complex, but I have to make the boundaries well, though, as a parent. So, and that will be probably similar, like a lot of anticipation, imagining, and trying and trying and testing, and that doesn't work, and change, and all of this will happen. But I would, yeah, just love them involve them. But also because I've met this kid who is really not like me, who is a girl. She's very interested in other things. She's 8, and I had to realize, oh, she is not because she doesn't like me or she doesn't like what I'm. It's just that she's interested in something else. This thing about that she said about force, that for me it was taken for granted that she will like that because she's a kid. She want to climb, and then eventually she liked to climb, but only to a specific thing. She liked to climb to a tree because of her own interest, but you just have to follow them. So maybe that's also something, because she didn't want to climb on a rock. She preferred the tree.
Mm-hmm.
For
Sounds
example,
like another dance.
it's another dance, and I have to follow that. I think that would be the beauty of it, and how to not to get too tired, because of course if I just play with them all the time, then I'm also very tired, because I start to age, and then I will see how much energy they have. I already feel it. Yeah.
Oh,
I already
wow.
feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the courage again. Just courage.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel complete? Yeah. So yeah, you still hang around the Discord? Like, is there some places you want to point people at? Or?
Yeah, definitely the sanghas, the morning and afternoon in Europe, or the morning in the US. Great places to keep going, to explore, to get into the meditation. And it's just much more fun than just doing it alone. And also, I don't know, like, there's really good stuff, being good conversations happening, and good ideas being cultivated. Yeah, and if you get into another, don't know, I think Lectio Divina is also amazing. What you guys have developed in group. I haven't tried yet the Dialogos, because I have been getting very busy, but definitely that's something that I would be interested in. The fellowship Dialogos. Yeah, I mean, I think also this is it's also a big platform with so many things to explore, and that's also the fun of it, that you can really try and it's a very good place. Discord. I wish to come again, but I also wish to see in person, or because I like to be outside.
There's going to be meetups through Discord. We'll talk about
great.
later.
Okay.
So how about you summarize your lesson? Like, what's the lesson that dance taught you throughout your life?
That life is, or events are difficult, but you're capable to face them alone, without anything external. To trust your structure, your systems. That your point of view is one point of view, and there are really many point of views that are allowed to be respected, and actually beautiful if you respect them, because then you can interact with them. That the hard will dull and the sharp will this quote, that anything hard will, or the sharp knife will get broken. Get on your feet and do stuff. Starts from the feet up, then it can go up to down. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to thank you for being a guest, and I will invite everybody to share their lessons from this conversation in the comment section. And I'll see you all again on the next episode of Unfolding the Soul.